Hi, I'm Mike Hughes, and I got a pretty exciting tutorial. I'm pretty excited to share this with you. If you are a Fusion user, BlackMagic Davinci Resolve and Fusion 9. Essentially what I have here, I have a quick shot from my drone, and this is an original shot where the train tracks in front of our church is broken. Okay, and I just didn't like that, all right, because we got a nice little church here. I was doing some stuff, so I wanted to fix it. So I wanted to fix it to put a continuous, nice train track, so any train can go by there and not cause any catastrophic damage. All right. Well, if you're buying that, I'm selling a bunch of BS. Because honestly, this is reverse. This is the one that I started with the drone. All right, kind of a cool little shot. And I turned that shot into this. So this was the final shot. So you may be thinking, okay, this is kind of crazy. Like, we've got obviously the tracks missing. They can replace. I got a little bit of a shift in the end there. But anyways, I want to show you how to do this, because this is really, really useful unless you want to take something out of a 3D scene. If you have motion blur in here, you got to kind of copy from frame to frame, a little bit of perspective and such. So let's go ahead and let's just jump right into this. So let's go ahead and let's get into DaVinci. What I've done is, while this is loading up, I have took a clip of a Mavic Pro, a Mavic 2 Pro, and I did a quick grade and I exported it as DNX HR. Okay, here we go. Let's jump into this. I'm going to do this straight from scratch, all right? So let's go ahead and let's pop in this quick shot. As I noted, this is a DNX HR. Kind of like to work with those, particularly from the drone, which is 4K, because it's really, really tough to process. It's kind of seems like it's heavily compressed at H.265. So let's jump right into this, into Fusion. And I'm going to walk through this pretty methodically, like a lot of these tutorials, so you really get a deep understanding. Of course, I got the median in, and right away, let's go ahead and do this. Let's do a camera track. So we need to track the camera. So we're going to get a camera tracker, boom, and I hit Shift Spacebar to open that. I'm going to pipe in this signal. I always hold the Alt key, Alt Option down whenever I drop, so I just kind of get an idea of what I'm going to drop things into. Come up here now and click Preview the track locations, and make sure you plop this into one of the viewers. I'm going to close the effects library so I have a little more real estate here. So you can kind of probably see these dots. If you can't see them, what I like to do is come up here, go to my gain gamma, and sometimes drop my gain down. Another way of doing that, I think you can actually drop the background in here as well, but I just do it right here, okay? So I say I have a few tracks. Why don't I do this? Let's go ahead and make the minimum feature separation just a little bit less, so we pop in a few more tracks. All right, this is a nice short one. I'll keep to the channel, the Luma, and I'm going to be moving a lot, so I might as well make that gutter just a little bit bigger. That's this gutter along the side here, okay? Yep, so I don't want to, I'll just increase that. Screw it, let's go for it, and hit auto track and see what happens here. Okay, I won't even speed this up. I think it's happening pretty quick. Essentially, what's this happening is, if you don't know this, what the tracker does, it picks little high contrast points through here, and it can essentially solve what the camera did, just because, hey, these aren't moving very much, and these are moving a lot. They must be closer. All right. So now we just did a track. So let's bounce over. Now I don't know what my focal length was on the camera. I'm not going to touch this right now. If you have that information, it's a Mavic 2. I mean, if someone has that, maybe they can plug that in. Let's go ahead and do this. I just go ahead and solve straight away, and this isn't going to be the final solve, all right? Because we're going to get some errors and some bad tracks, and I'm going to wean those out and then solve again, all right? So, all right, looks like we got it now. Let's just go ahead and walk through here. All right, so we can take a quick peek here and see. I don't know why these guys want to do that. Okay, I think I had my hand on the thing. So you can look at the tracks there, okay? Not bad, kind of interesting. But this is what's really fun. So let's go ahead and play with some of these values here. Now this is a little bit confusing, but essentially what this is doing is this is selecting, you can think of it as the bad tracks, all right? We're reducing the minimum solve error and the maximum track error, and see how some of these tracks pop up. So out of the 2040, 1504 are selected, all right, with this criteria. So we can massage this around a little bit and look at these tracks, and these are essentially bad tracks. Now, here's the deal though. Okay, I'm going to streamline this a little bit. The average solve error is pretty small, so I don't think I have to do this next step. But what I would do if this solve error was bad and I had a lot of bad tracks, or if there was someone walking through there or something weird like that, I would select these tracks, all right? And if you want to be just double sure on it, like you can see it turns yellow when they're selected. So pick it and then look at the values. I can't move the mouse right now, but you can look at the track error and the solve error, all right? And see that solve error is, it's just going to be one of those values allowed that track to be picked, where you can pick another one and you can see the track error and the solve errors should be below these threshold values, all right? So you can have some fun here, like you can invert the selection if you want to select the good ones and the bad ones and all that. Now there's two things you can do right here. You can actually just delete those tracks, all right? Or you can set their solve weight to 0 and then click set, all right? So anyways, I'm gonna just leave it alone right now. Excuse me, you hit set and then you're gonna go ahead and hit solve again. All right, so that's just a little tip. In fact, I'll just do it. Why not? Well, no, I won't do it. I'm going to save time here. So anyways, that is just for you to know. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a point cloud, and let's just go ahead, and I'm going to take this lower output right here, and I'm going to hold down my option key and put that scene input. Then I'm going to hit numeral 1 and bring this scene into the point cloud. Now I hit command and I'm on my Mac, so I'm just going to scroll back a little bit and see what we have here. So you can see straight away, pretty cool. I mean, look at along the tracks. You can see these tracks through here. All right, they look pretty darn good. There's a few floaters flying around up here. I don't know why they're there. Honestly, those guys we could probably select and just flat out delete. Let's go ahead. Here, let's go ahead and select. Okay, we selected 6, and let's go ahead. Let's go right here and click delete. All right, and let's pick a few more. I don't really care too much. If I select a little bit more, let's go ahead and delete those. And I don't think we need these guys here. All right, so I think the solve was pretty good in spite of those little anomalies. I can go below it too. Nothing was below that. Let's select these guys. Hit delete. A little bit of tedium here. All right. Okay. All right. Not bad. Okay, I'll tell you what. Since I've already deleted some of those ones that are not on the plane, let me go ahead and go back to the camera tracker, and let's make that selection for those poor choices. Okay. Pick some of the bad ones. Let's see how they sit in there. Seems like there's quite a few, really. Heck, let's try it. Let's just try it, all right? Sometimes if I don't know if I really want to commit to this, I'll hit Control-C, Command-C, and Command-V, and I'll just make a copy of this, okay? So it's kind of a way of doing undo. I don't always trust undo with the camera tracker. So now let's make sure I'm in this node, and I've selected those, and let's just go ahead and delete those tracks. All right, I'll tell you what, now that we have those tracks out of the way, let's just go ahead and solve again, and let's see what happens. Now we were at 0.35. Let's see if we get a better solve without some of those tracks in play. All right, looks like I don't even really have to skip or fast forward. Now we've got 0.441. Okay, so it looks like the solve error went up. Okay, so that's not good. I've seen that before, but you know what? I think we're going to be good no matter what here. So let's just roll with it. So let's do a first thing before we actually solve for this camera in the scene and export it. This is what we want to do. We want to go to this tab right here. Actually, no, I don't. I want to go to this tab, 3D Scene Transform, and we click to unaligned. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pick some points here to really align our world. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm just going to select a whole slew of these guys here, and it's going to average out a bit. Oops, you know what? I don't know if I like that selection. I'm going to try this. It's kind of these ones that are sort of right along in the middle of the track, so to speak. And let's just take a peek here. They look pretty planar. I lost my selection there. All right. So they look pretty planar. All right. It's not bad. Not bad. Let's just roll with that. And let's go down to the orientation and set the XZ ground plane. All right. So let's go set from selection. Boom. Now nothing much moved, but you could see that if you want to rewind the video, this is what repositioned right there, that point. Now I'm going to pick a point. I don't know. I might pick this guy. Let's see, one of these guys here. Let's see. I don't know why it's not highlighting. If I was going to put an object in, I'm going to select an origin is what I'm doing. So this has a track error of 0.058 and a solve error. I can't quite see it there, but I think it's small enough. Okay. So that right there, I'm just going to remember that point, and I'm going to make that the origin set from selection. All right. Now when I come up here and I go back to aligned, all right, let's go and hold option and scroll backwards. Come on. Command, scroll backwards, sorry. And you can see this ground plane is right in line with the tracks. And that point right there is the origin. So if we're to drop in an object or something, it would be right there, okay? That's going to help out a little bit for what we want to do, kind of orientate us. So let's just roll with that, and we just go right up here and export the camera. Boom. Okay, now we're pretty much done with all this. Okay, now that we are done with this, let's go ahead and select them, and go ahead and hit Command. Actually, I forget the term here. Let me right click on this. It's going to be group. We're going to just group them together. I like using groups a lot because it makes things nice and tidy. All right, so then let's go ahead and hit F2. All right, and let's rename this track. All right, so let's kind of put that off to the side. All right, now let's take these guys and bring them into the forefront a little bit. And we're going to have a little bit of fun here. All right, so let's go and take a look at this merge. And of course, we've got the camera. Now, if you look at the camera, and let's go and hit the spline editor on the camera, you might notice a few things that look really problematic, right? When I look at this and I see lines that are flattened, it freaked me out. I was like, oh my God, this is a bad track. But then yet I look at the track just practically, and it's like, well, I don't know, it looks like it didn't jump around really too much. Honestly, what happened here is the gosh darn Mavic, let me go frame by frame, just froze some frames. So watch them going 21, 22, 23. It has some stuck frames, and that's really an issue with the card. So I ordered some better 90, I think, megabit per second cards, right? SanDisk Ultra, whatever's, and I think that will remedy that. So that's just a problem in the footage. I could fix that, but for purposes of tutorial, let's plow on, okay? But those are like little things you should look for, like the space between the tracks. Something looks weird there, okay? And you can actually go in and manually change those if you want in the spline editor, or even probably the spline editor. All right, so now that's the merge. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and throw another camera in here, and I'm going to hit Shift Space and just hit a camera 3D, all right? And that is going to be piped in, and you can see it right there. Now, before I go reaching in there and grabbing tracks, let me just come up here. Let me just lift it in the Y direction, all right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it about the X down, okay? So I can see it's going down, so I'm just going to actually type in -90. And that's going to be looking right down onto this plane, all right? Right down this plane we established, which are, of course, the railroad tracks, all right? So next thing I want to do is let's drop in a, oops, shoot, I want to do that. Let's just go ahead and drop in an image plane. So we got a plane right here, all right? That's exactly what we want. Let's pipe it into this merge. All right, it's kind of tiny in there. Let's go ahead. Sometimes use a transform in between here, but in this case, let's just use it as is. Let's get that bigger, and let's rotate about the X. Let's go, oop, that's an offset. I don't want that. Let's rotate about the X and go -90. And I'll just type in there -90. All right, now this is shooting, basically, this camera is going to look at this plane, all right? So what we got to do is, and this is really cool actually, we want to project this image on the plane and have this camera look at this image, all right? So that's our next little milestone. So how do we do that? And this is something you can use in a lot of other different things, a lot of different tools, a lot of different goals. So let's go to this camera right here, all right? This is our mobile camera. And let's go up. We're piping in an image to it, but let's select it and let's make this guy, all right, a projector, all right? It's enable camera projection. Actually, it's locked, so we can't. So let me fix that. Let me save this real quick. So let's unlock it. You got to remember that if something's not really working, check out if it's locked, if you can't really ever do anything with it. Okay, so now this is projecting the camera image, but we're still not seeing it here, okay, on this shape, all right? So we got to switch from projection mode from ambient light to texture. I don't know why it doesn't do that straight away, but, you know, whatever. Okay, so that's kind of cool, but we're still not seeing the image on this shape. Here's the trick you have to do, and to give credit where credit's due, I learned this from the VFX tutorial. I gotta forget the name. I'll put it in the notes there, or maybe in a title. But there's a really good tutorial set I bought from. Again, I totally spaced the guy, but anyways, he explains this extremely well. So catcher. Here's what you do. You gotta take a catcher, and you plug it in. I'm holding down Alt Option, and it's a material. All right. The catcher acts like a material around this shape, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, all right, because it means like it's what are we throwing on this surface? Well, we're throwing on this image, all right. So that's how it's looked at. So we have this output image, all right, which is the tracked image. But let's go ahead and another render node, 3D render node, and let's pipe out from the merge the render. Now we're going from 3D to 2D, and in this render node, let's pick that camera 3D, this guy up here. In fact, let's go ahead and rename this camera. Let's call it, I'm going to hit F2 to rename, and let's just call it, I like to use any object. I like to keep the name, otherwise I can't tell what the heck they are. So let's go camera top, all right? Okay, so in this render down here, we're going to actually pick, it's going to, see here. Okay, in this render, camera top, all right? So let's go ahead and pipe this out and see what we see. All right, we're getting some interference with our ground plane. We don't need the ground plane. Let's get rid of it. Doink. Okay, now this is really weird and really cool. As I go through here, look, take a check out over here, like what's being seen and what the camera picks up. See how it almost like stays in place? Because you got to remember with a 3D scene, and actually let's do this a little bit. Let me pipe out. Let me go up so we can see a little bit more. And why don't I take this shape right now and let's unlock the XYZ and let's make the Y a little bit longer like that. Okay. All right, all right. Okay, let's do something like that. And honestly, why don't we take this camera, move it along the tracks a little bit out there, and why don't we make this scale? If you can't go any further on a scale like this in any one of these controls, just type in some number right here, and then it's going to give you the full thing. So I got a generous amount of canvas right there, so to speak. All right. So okay. So anyways, you get an idea here as we scroll back and forth that we're getting a top view of this camera. It's actually pretty cool. All right. So I'm getting kind of close right here. Let me see if I can fix that. Well, actually, not really. I mean, that's just what is shown right there. Okay. All right. So why don't we take out this chunk of track up here? So here's what we got to do now. If we want to take out some of this track, what we're going to do is we're going to take this render node, and why don't we just rename this render node? Let's call it. I'm going to call it render top view. All right. And let's go ahead and let's paint it. So let's add a paint node. And under paint, what I want to do is, I'm not exactly sure. Let me find. I don't know. Maybe I'll find something like a long right through here. Okay. So let's just go ahead. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Let's grab this polyline right here, all right, polyline stroke, and let's just do a little run from right here to right there, right in the middle of the shadows and the tracks, okay? And what I want to do now under brush controls is let's go ahead and make that brush, all right, let's make it a little bit bigger. We're going to use this control right here, which is a wire removal. All right, so we have the wire removal going. Now, you can see right here, you obviously want to make sure you're on paint, as I mentioned before, I think. Now we just play with these controls. We play with this little bit of the size and the softness. Obviously, we want a little bit of softness in there. Now, we can create the distance, have this reach out. Let's go ahead and reach in. Let me zoom in here a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and increase this distance. Maybe I want to move this guy a little bit more to the center. Oops, I don't know if I want to do that. Something a little bit like that. I don't really like that angle. I'm not sure if this guy will... this will fix it just a little bit there. I don't even make it perfect. Oh, that's actually pretty cool. All right, it's pretty crazy. Really crazy. A little bit of shadow here. I don't know if I like that. Now the bias almost acts like an alpha, kind of like an alpha. I'm not really sure what it does, honestly, and I have no idea what noise does or anything on that. All right, cool. So that is a projection. All right, a downward projection. Let's go ahead and let me show you this. If you move this guy along, see how it kind of copies. Now what's cool on that is if there's any kind of motion blur or some weird things like that, all right, it will copy because it's copying frame by frame by frame, this paint, all right, the way that works. Now, when I get over here, I'm almost wondering, probably have to move this stroke and keyframe that, all right. Because if I want to move this guy over, see if I can keyframe that. All right, so if I come to the start here, I can right click for a shape animation and set a key, which I already did. And then let's go ahead and pull out a little bit, hit command and scroll back a little bit. All right, then at the end, obviously I've got to, let's go stop that. All right, let's pick another key right about here and bring that over. All right. And that should have already set a key. Okay. Oh, maybe it didn't actually. I have to click animate first. Let me go back to the start and bring this guy over. And let's come to the end. Okay, that's not bad. And I think what I have to do is keyframe the distance. So let's go ahead and plug keyframe on distance here. I don't want to get too big, reach too much. Oh, I'm actually, let me keyframe the size actually. See, I'm going to reach out kind of like that. And the distance, I screwed with that already, but let me bring that something like that. And then let's go ahead to the end here. Actually, it's probably okay, but I don't need to be too big. Let's not be too greedy. This side, just kind of bring it back somewhere in that space. All right. I'm kind of a stickler on this stuff because I do think it's kind of moving a little. Yeah, I don't know. I think I might have screwed up and actually moving it. In all honesty, let's see how it looks though. We can maybe go back to it. Okay, great. So now let's do this. So what we want to do is we want to take this camera and look at this and superimpose it on top of this image. All right. So here's how we're going to do it. Probably a few ways of doing this, but since we already have all this, doing all this work up here, grabbing that image, I don't want to screw around and use this camera to, because right now it's projecting that image where this is pulling and that's drawing it. So I don't want to loop back into this camera. I'm just going to start fresh. When I start fresh, I like to start with a merge 3D. All right. Let's bring that by down here. All right. Now, let's go ahead and take this exact same camera, which we solved before. All right. Let's copy. Let's come down here. Let's paste it. Let's bring it in. Boom. And let's take a look at it in the first view. Okay. So there it is. We got a camera just like the other one. All right. So if I come back to this guy, same. Now, let's take this. See, I don't need the top camera anymore, but let's go ahead and take this guy and the catcher. All right, actually, we don't even need that. Let's just take this guy. Oh, no, I take that back. We do need it to be a catcher as well. So, sorry. Take these two, copy it, bring it down here. All right, so the catcher is going to be on that, and this is going to be piped into the scene. So let's put that on one. All right, so that that plane is going to be piped into the scene as well. All right, looks like I didn't lost this here. Okay, there we go. Okay, now it's not catching anything. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to take this original image, all right, the very original image, and we want to shoot it on, but we don't. Actually, no, I take that back. What we want to do is shoot this image. We're going to use this camera top, so I'm going to copy this one, and I'm going to put it down here. So let me show you what we're doing here. And this is going to shoot out this painted image. All right. So here's that painted image we were messing on. But now imagine, see, here's the thing. A camera can always be a projector. All right, so think of a camera as a projector, as sending out an image as well as sucking in an image. So over here, I'm going to enable camera projection. All right, and it's going to kick out a texture, and there's the texture right there. Now, if we want to see what's being shot out, okay, let's go ahead and put a render node. And let's pipe this out into that. Let's look at this render on too. Okay, oh, you know what? I had those gain on that whole time. I can probably undo that. The gain and gamma. So there's our missing tracks right there. Okay, and let's just go ahead and pan through. Okay, now think about what this is doing real quick here. First off, when you hit this render node, you want to make sure the camera is the correct camera. In this case, it's this one. Okay, this 3D, this guy here. All right, this guy that's moving. All right, so this camera is shooting an image on this plane, all right, which we were drawing on and doing all that fun stuff. But now it's a blank plane, but we're just we're re-shooting. We drew on, we captured it from up here, we drew on it, and we took that drawing back to this camera, shot it on the same plane, a different one, but the same size and all that, okay? And now this camera, this back one right here, is picking that up, all right? And it's just picking up a portion of it, okay? But look how cool this looks. If we go through, I mean, you know, we're doing pretty good at missing those tracks. Basically doing a patch. So if you want to use this to like patch out like a, you know, something in your in one of your shots, you know, this is just a way you can obviously do it. So now we have this render. It's actually pretty easy. Let's go ahead and I'll do this the harder way, but let me type in a merge node. All right. So this is going to be the foreground. I think these yellow and green. I think Kermit the Frog's always in the front stage. So this is going to be the foreground right here. I'll drop this on Kermit. And then this is going to be the background, the original image. I'll just like pipe it up, all right? So we didn't do any color grade or anything like that, so we should be good to go. Okay, so that should be the background. Now nothing happened, right? Well, we got to put it in this in the view. I hit number 2. All right, there you have it. Okay, so now it looks a little different than my other one, but we have a little bit of a track there. Now, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back in here because I moved those. I made a mistake by moving you know, moving the line back and forth. Let's take a peek at that. And I really do not want to do that. So let's go here. Let's right click for shape animation. And I don't want to remove polyline 3. Let's just go ahead and, how can I do that? Let's go into the spline editor. And let's just get rid of all these guys. I don't want to see them. All these guys, I don't want to see them. Let's take the polyline and yeah, let's change this. Let's definitely change this. What the heck? Let's get rid of, let's basically, yeah, let's delete that, okay? So I deleted one of them. Let's see what happens here. Okay, here's what we'll do to finesse this. And I'll be honest with you, I'm at the limits of my knowledge here and the best practice on this. Essentially, we just want this image to look pretty much static, okay? So I could put perhaps another polyline, and then when I get way off, I can actually maybe bring the opacity in or doing something clever like that. Let's try it actually. Let's go ahead and try that. So let's get rid of the spline editor. Let's go, you know what I could do to be a little bit safer is put another paint on in parallel to this. Let me try that actually. Let's go ahead and let me hit Shift Command. Let's put another paint on top of this one. All right. And for this paint, let's do the same process. I'm going to paint over the other paint essentially. And let me do a quick look through here. Gosh, I'm kind of like right in between on this line. So let me make one end look really good. So let me go on this end. Let me hit paint. And let me bring this guy over here. Part of the track I'm taking out. All right. So, okay, that side should be fine. Now if I come to the other end, actually that one doesn't look bad either. You know, it is moving on me though. Okay, you know what I do in stuff like this? I start from scratch. So I know this is a longer tutorial, but who cares? So let's forget about that old one. Let's go to a new one here. And let's just jump right in. Let's just do a polyline. Let's go right to the start, actually. Let's do a polyline right here. All right. Let's switch it to, do the wire removal. And let's look at the brush controls. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger. Oh, let's make sure the polyline is up there so I can see it. Let's make the size a little bit bigger. And let's make it a little bit softer. And let's increase that distance. Let's make that still a little bit bigger. So let's reach out that brush. 0.1. Let's just set this to 0.2, bigger than we need to. Let's reach out a little bit beyond the softness. We don't need it too soft. Let's bring it up there. Now let's go down. Let's hit that angle. Tweak that up. All right. I'm going to reach out in the distance. Just play with that. There we go. The bias, it kind of acts like an alpha for me. I'm not really. All right. That looks good. Noise, I didn't know what those things do. Okay. All right. So I think the bigger lesson is there. If you start really screwing things up, okay, it's going to lose it in the end. So in the end, I lose it. All right. So you know what I'm going to do there? I'm just going to do another paint. I'm going to bring this guy's going to be down here. So let's take this paint down here. Now, remember this pipe's here, and then it pipes into here. So I'm going to go ahead and put another polyline. How big was that polyline? Pull back a little bit here. Okay, I see the stretch there. It looks like the whole track actually kind of gets lost a little bit there. Okay, I'm just going to eyeball about where it was from here down to there. All right. And let's make that size and that softness of that brush, and we're going to turn this guy into that one again. Let's reach a little bit of distance there. Oops, I'm not on this one. I always screw that up. Let's change that bias a little bit. Definitely change that angle. All right. So here's the deal. Like, I probably don't need that pull. Well, I guess it doesn't hurt anything. Let's turn this guy off upstream. I don't want it there. I don't want it there upstream, but let's do this. This is a little trick you can always do in all this stuff. Let's take the blend and play with the blend, you know, from nothing to something, all right? So I don't like it. So all of a sudden when I get to the end here, let's go ahead and turn the blend all the way down. I'm just gonna like right about here keyframe in. And maybe actually I should have maybe keyframed that earlier. I can change that in the spline editor. And let's go ahead and pretty quickly, it's kind of not, I shouldn't be that quickly actually. Let's bring that blend. Let me bring it in a little bit. I'll do this semi-manual. Bring it in just a little bit more to finish it off, okay? All right. I don't know if I like that. We'll see how it looks though. Okay, you get the idea on that. I'd play with that a bit more. I don't want to leave you hanging with something crummy, but let's take a look here now. So there's our missing tracks. Let's take a play through. All right, in the end, and I can really fuss over all these details, but yeah, I think that's not bad, all right? Definitely. Other thing I could do on here, I don't like that shadow right here. It looks kind of weird. So let's go on this paint and let's just go ahead. I'm going to hit Shift Space Bar and add one more paint. And this one's going to be a little bit different. I am going to use this clone. All right. So let's go ahead and bring this in the second viewer here. Right along here, I want to paint in. So what I do is I hit option key like over here. Oh, no, that's not what I want. Let's see. I want to do, not the stamp. Clone, there it is. Sorry. So let me Command Z, get up. Here's clone. So that's the one I want. So let's go ahead and make this just a little bit bigger. The brush. Let me save it real quick. Why don't I bring this stuff and I'm going to bring it over here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Option and click. And then I'm going to start painting away like this. Okay, this is very much like paint, Photoshop and such. So I'm going to paint this. And actually, I got the merge over here, right? So I can kind of see what I'm doing. Live time, I should be able. It looks like that shadow really kind of crawls back there. All right, so I'll do something like that. I don't be too aggressive. I think I might have been a little aggressive with the feather on that. In fact, maybe the feather should be down just a little bit. But let's go ahead and turn it off and on. Okay, okay. See how I like that shadow a lot better. I think the sun's coming at this angle. All right, and again, you get the idea of some things you can do to just further tweak and just take the pipeline of the image and just keep playing with it. And if you don't like it, you know, just do it again or just turn what you did off. You know, it's all good. Okay, so boom. So now the final thing, of course, on this, I got to get this media out and get rid of the original image, and then pipe in our final merge. So we went from all this 1D to 3D back to 1D and all that business. And let's hit a save before I jump out of the tab, as always, and look at the edit. See what we got here. Nice. Of course, in the color grading, you can do all the color grading stuff you may want to do. I don't have my control panel hooked up here, obviously, but you know, whatever. What I would suggest in some things like this, sometimes to really sell it, is this is going beyond the scope a little bit, but let's say, for example, Command S, you want to do a little vignette or something like that. Pop that in. Let's put a generous feather on here. Let's invert it. Okay. Sometimes if that goes away, the lines, I can just hit one and hit another mask and another one. All right. So if I have something like that, then I can go ahead. Let's turn that off, and then, you know, bring down, if I want a little bit of a vignette, that can help sell the shot. This one moves a little bit more. All right, and sometimes when you really do a vignette really well, if you turn this off, like you don't even notice it. Let me get rid of that. All right, boom. I don't like the end, that very end, but even if I don't like the end, you know what I might do? I might just cut it short. You know, I might just stop the scene a little bit early. But I could probably go back and fix that, definitely, so we don't lose whatever's going on there. All right, and of course, another thing I can do in the end, I can go to the OpenFX, pop in a little grain, you know, film grain, just bring that on there. Definitely, I would label these. Right here, I have Option Shift L, grain, you know, vignette, you know, the base. So, you know, with grain, I mean, there's some standard, like the 16 or 8 millimeters sometimes. If you put that on the reference monitor, that can look pretty cool. We can look at the grain only, just to get an idea of what it does. But any one of these composites, some of this stuff kind of helps out to sell the effect. All right, cool. All right, good. That's what I got. All right. Actually, my next tutorial I want to do, I've kind of compiled a way of color grading all the little things that you may want to do in a grade and put it in one set of nodes. And I think that's kind of a cool one, because anyone who wants to color grade, and it relates to composites because you're changing everything very sequentially, and you can do it not in one big node but in a whole plurality. But I got a template on that. That's the next one I want to knock out here. I'm kind of excited to kind of do for you. All right, good stuff. Hope that helped. I know it's long, I know it's verbose, but I want to make sure it is complete. Mike Hughes, I'm out.